Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally made it to the Super Bowl 59 game. Hosted in New Orleans, of course. Halftime performance by Kendrick Lamar. Chiefs, Eagles. Should be a great game. I know leading up to this contest, it has been pretty much a dead zone when it comes to conversations, right? I think it's more so because of the Eagles being here and, of course, the Chiefs being here for the third consecutive time. But we are here, right? And as a football fan, a fan of the NFL, the fan of the game, I'll be tuned in from beginning to end. But with all that being said, welcome back to the Chill Tates podcast. I'm your host, Darian. And yeah, man, Super Bowl preview. It's going to be a very fun episode, in my opinion. Um, Ready to talk about this game from what this matchup means from both teams, what's on the line for both teams, of course, and the Chiefs and Eagles. Things to look out for, keys to victory for the Chiefs offensively and defensively, and same for the Eagles as well. Got a lot to get into. And also I want to end this podcast off with the news, excuse me, of the MVP, the NFL's MVP, and my thoughts on it. And if the NFL got it right, did the voters get it right, so on and so forth. And that'll be pretty much the whole duration of the show. So it shouldn't be too much of a long podcast, right? But let's go ahead and get right into the Super Bowl preview because, like I said, I'm excited to talk about this game, even though the buildup has been as hype, and I think it's more so because of the NBA action we saw this previous week or this current week, the trades and whatnot. And of course, I'm not a notable NBA podcast, but I do believe Adam Silver and his organization definitely were the talk of the town this week instead of the Super Bowl. Of course, Roger Goodell and his organization. So, but we'll see when the numbers drop. Of course, everybody will be tapped into the most important game of the NFL season, the final game of the NFL season, right? And then it'll be no more football. So, we'll it's going to be bittersweet, in my opinion, because of course, as a fan, I am of a team that was terrible this year and ready for the offseason, but also these weekends, this buildup is going to be very long. But anyways, let's get right into this preview, right? All right. So what does this game mean for the Chiefs? Now, of course, three-peat. That is the talk of the town. Of course, what Nick Saban may refer to as rat poison. And I'm sure Andy Reid has not emphasized that at all. It's all about winning this game, going 1-0 this week, right? Winning the championship. But of course, the players can feel that in the back of their minds, right? Of course, Patrick Mahomes can feel that. Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, what this means for their career as an NFL player, but also as this dynasty continues. That'll be 4 championships for this entire Chiefs team. Well, entire championship core. It'll be 4 rings for Andy Reid, 4 for Patrick Mahomes, 4 for Travis Kelce, 4 for Chris Jones. Um, who could also be? I think a few more players will be getting 4. I think Harrison Buckner will be getting his 4th ring, right? Even though he's a kicker, it's still really important because that is legacy. You know what I'm saying? You're cemented in forever football greatness, right? You know what I'm saying? So not a lot of teams have one Super Bowl, let alone 3, potentially 4. And of course, the three-peat, right? You have players on this team that have never seen nothing less of a Super Bowl championship. Trent McDuffie, right? Um, that entire 2022 rookie class, Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, right? They've seen 2 consecutive championship games, if I'm not mistaken. So very, very great stuff on the line for this Chiefs team. And also, you know, what could potentially happen after this? Will it continue? I think if they do win this game, I think there will be a blockage. Only because one, I think the NFL at some point has to adjust what they're doing, right? They're going to lose some players this offseason, right? You could see a retirement from Travis Kelce, which would be huge, right? They're going to lose out on some free agent, so they're going to lose some pending free agents. They're going to probably lose Justin Reed, to free agency. They're probably going to lose um who else? Trey Smith on their offensive line, right? One of the best guards in all of football, right? They're probably going to lose Nick Bolton. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't pay everybody because they have a lot of guys under contract, and they also must think about their future. And we know about this Chiefs team; they are able to draft and they're free agency acquisitions, but it's not going to be easy, right? It's not going to be easier to retain this current core, and they will be better from a skill position set offensively, in my opinion, without Travis Kelce, but it won't be the same. But overall, though, this means a lot because this could be a breakage, not a breakage, but a gap in between what happens next. Because I do like to believe there won't be a 4-peat, there won't be a 5-peat, there won't be a 6-peat, so on and so forth, right? There has to be some type of parity in this league and also a balance, right? Because we have other teams you would think get better, right? The Niners should be back next year. The Eagles will be back next year, of course. The Lions could potentially be back. You might have the rising team in the AFC, right? The Ravens, the Bills, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Jags, the Texans, so on and so forth, but the Bengals, right? So we'll see. But overall, though, I do believe this game means a lot because this could be the final one for quite some time. And of course, it is championship galore. It is the three-peat. It is something that's never been done before in NFL history, right? I think the last three-peat to happen in the sports entirely may have been the Lakers, I think. The Kobe Shaq Lakers. Because there hasn't been a three-peat in the NBA in quite some time, right? The Heat didn't go on the three-peat. The Warriors weren't able to accomplish a three-peat, surprisingly enough, right? So yeah, three-peat hasn't happened in the pro sports. I'm not sure about baseball. I'm quite sure it hasn't happened in baseball in a long time, nor NHL, and of course college football. Georgia almost did it, but they went on a two-peat. So, if I'm not mistaken, I could be 100% wrong, but I'll check after the podcast drop. And also let me know in the comment section. But there hasn't been a three-peat in pro sports since the early 2000 Lakers. American pro sport. So this is big and it's never been done in NFL history. So what are the keys to victory, right? And then I'll get into what this game means for the Eagles when I get into their segment. But what are the keys to victory? I think offensively, the Chiefs must continue to take care of the football, right? I think both of these teams have done a phenomenal job of taking care of the football in the postseason. I think they have not registered not one turnover in the postseason, which is why they're in the Super Bowl, right? Every team they faced, they forced turnovers. They were not turn the ball over themselves. So that is huge, right? That is no, actually, no, I'm lying. The Chiefs do have one turnover in the postseason, and they had that against the Bills, and they still won. So continue to take care of the football, which is most important. The Eagles have done a phenomenal job with that, and I get into that in a minute. But it must take care of the football, right? Find Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was amazing versus the Texans, had a big game. I think he had over 100 yards receiving, one touchdown, so on and so forth. Against the Bills, though, I think Sean McDermott throughout these last few matchups, especially these two games in the regular season, of course, the postseason, did a phenomenal job of really matching up against Travis Kelce, like throwing disguises out there to confuse Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and allowing other people to beat them. And of course, they lost, but when you phase Travis Kelce out of a game, you have a great shot at beating the Chiefs team because we all know the off script that Patrick Mahomes and Travis get into, and of course, we all know what Andy Reid can dial up. But I will say though, the Eagles have had a lot of tight ends get off against them this year. Most recently, Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz had over 100 yards receiving. Crazy. Trey, what's the Tyler Higbee for the Rams, their tight end, had a big game against this Eagles defense, right? So the Eagles have definitely got a bit whooped up against tight ends this year, right? And so I think Travis Kelce can have a big game. So definitely find him early and often. Don't shy away from the running attack. We all know this Chiefs team has not been the best running the football this year, but I will say Andy Reid has never gone away from running game, right? Because we all know how important it is to run the football, right? Isaiah Pacheco hasn't been the running back we've seen in years past, right? From the explosiveness, he's taking a step back because of his leg injury. And I don't think he's a guy that can really be their bell cow anymore. But Kareem Hunt's done an amazing job stepping in, right? And I think he's been even keeled throughout the entire season, right? I think he has a little over 700 yards rushing, but he's been really consistent throughout the playoffs. Texas, he had a big game against Buffalo Bills. He had a good game as well. So they must continue to run the football and not shy away from it and make this offense one-dimensional. Also, of course, continue to get other players involved offensively. I like what they're getting out of Xavier Worthy. He's really been a bright spot in this offense, probably their second most productive receiving target outside of Travis Kelce. Since like the back half of the season, including playoffs. I like what we're seeing from Hollywood Brown these last few weeks. Juju Smith-Schuster stepped up as well, right? You know what I'm saying? DeAndre Hopkins is still a reliable option out there from a possession standpoint of just being a safety blanket for Mahomes to lean on. And all the offensive line has done a really good job of protecting Mahomes, right? They have Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith. I think Jawan Taylor, what they call guys like that, a playoff riser. A lot of guys on this team that kind of like just, oh my God, we got to get rid of such and such throughout the season. But when it comes to the playoffs, they rise to the occasion. Kind of like a Daniel Swartz back in the day. Not to that degree, but we all know how Daniel was a big play and a liability at times in the postseason, but he also has some big time moments. But of course, they moved on from him because overall he wasn't good enough. But Jawan Taylor, he's solid, has his moments, the fall starts and whatnot. But when it comes to the postseason, He's been dominant. On the flip side, on the other side, right, you have the tables, the turntables of someone like DJ Humphries, who's been, in healthy this year at times, but you also have someone like Thuney, who you kick outside to the left tackle spot, and you have, I'm not even sure, playing guard. I think he's not that good anyway. I forgot who it was, but a lot of Chiefs fans have been griping about him. But overall, though, the step up between Thuney to play, or Joe Thuney to play both left tackle and left guard has been amazing. So this Chiefs offensive line is going to be ready to play. And I think they'll have a good shot at potentially controlling the line of scrimmage against the Eagles team, because I'm not sure, and it hasn't been notified yet, if Jalen Carter will be playing, because he is dealing with an illness right now, supposedly, and he has been practicing. It could have been an update today. I haven't been checking my phone. I should have checked before the podcast started, but I'm not sure if Jalen Carter has participated in any practices or walkthroughs so far this championship week of preparation. So we'll see how that goes come game day. Maybe like a game time decision. We'll see. So that's going to be big, really big. And I'll get into that later with the Chiefs, the Eagles, how keys to their victory. Defensively for this Chiefs team, they must neutralize Saquon Barkley. Right. I think one of the biggest holes in this Chiefs defense this year, and we've definitely been emphasized in the postseason, they are not that good against the run. And I think it's because up front they're not as strong, right? I don't think outside of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, they have been able to stop the run as effective as we've seen in years past, right? And I think they've been okay with that because their back end has been relatively really good, especially with the return of Justin Watson being back in the secondary alongside Trent McDuffie. And of course, you have Justin Reed and so on and so forth, and Nick Bolton being playing great football, and Leo Chanel and so on. But overall, I think their front four has been and really their front seven has been exposed a bit, right? I think Joe Mixon had over close to 100 yards rushing. James Cook had a really big performance, even though he had to work for every single yard. It felt like, especially for those touchdowns, he still played good. Now, I will say in short yardage situations, the Chiefs' front seven and front four has stepped the big time, but this is going up against an Eagles offensive line that is a bit unhealthy with Leonard Dickerson and, of course, their center, drawing the blank right now, but Cam Jurgens, they're not the healthiest right now, but I'm pretty sure they'll be good to go come game day. But you know what I'm saying? We all know how the Eagles get down in short yardage situations, are also just establishing the run in general. So they must find a way to neutralize Saquon Barkley and pray that they can hold them to around 80 to 90 yards for them to win. Because if he has anything that exceeds over 100 yards, I think they lose. Because Saquon Barkley, anytime I feel as if he rushes for 114 or more, this Eagles team is hard to stop offensively. I think also they must make Jalen Hurts beat them from the pocket. Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is not the same quarterback that faced off against this Chiefs defense. And even though the Chiefs defense looks a bit different, but he's not the same quarterback that's faced this Chiefs defense back during Super Bowl 57, right? He may not be that same quarterback from that season anyways. I think he has been a bit, not inconsistent, but he's just kind of just been flatline. Hasn't progressed, hasn't gotten really worse, but he's just flatline, right? I think it's because of the offensive coordinator shuffling, of course, these last few years, and he has someone like Kellen Moore that's been able to install a solid game plan, but it doesn't seem like he's still comfortable. I will say one thing about Hurts now. He hasn't been the most explosive quarterback from the passing standpoint, right? He's not really a feared passer, in my opinion, but he's definitely been really great, really elite at taking care of the football. So that's something to keep in mind, and why I believe that Hurts, has been able to give this Eagles team a fighting chance and continue, not really a fighting chance, but continue to elevate this team going forward because of his ability to take care of the football and just take what the defense gives him at times. We all know how Spags is aggressive. And last time Spags and his defense got lit up. But this is a day from Jalen Hurts, and of course, a different offensive play calling by Kellen Moore. And I think since then, Spags has gotten way better as a DC, even in that 2-3 year time span, right? So they must make Hurts beat them from the pocket. Can't let him get off his pivot. Make plays on the run and stuff like that. And also utilize his running attack. I mean, I think last week against the Commanders defense, he was held under 25 yards rushing. I think he'll definitely need more rushing yards to beat this Chiefs team. But they must contain him and make him beat him from the pocket, because I feel as if he's definitely become a one-read quarterback. I watched that Commanders game over again, and he was making some big-time throws, right? But also in the Rams game as too. I felt as if he made arguably his best performance against the Commanders team. The Commanders defense is not that good in my opinion, but overall he has some big time throws. But I will say as well, he wasn't his best when he was taking off his first read, right? If his first read wasn't there, he started to put his head down and look elsewhere and try to, like, navigate the pocket when it didn't look pretty. And I was like, that's something we haven't seen from Hurts in years past, because I felt as if he was getting better from a progression standpoint, but it seems as if he's taking a step back. And it may be because of his what he's not trusting out there with the passing concepts. I don't think Kellen Moore is the best play designer at times. And also, like, it could be the confusion he's seeing on the defensive front. Dan Quinn's an amazing defensive coordinator, and so was Chris Shula. I think he did a really good job of revamping this Rams defense as the season went on, right? So Spags is definitely going to move and design a lot of things for Hurts to be confused about, and also just make him think twice. It's a mental game when it comes to Spags. And I shout out to Theo Nash NFL. He's probably never Theo Ash NFL. I'm sorry, he probably won't hear this podcast, nor will any of his not representatives, but his fans. But recently, he's been on Media Row, Radio Row on sports during Super Bowl weekend. He asked Nick Bolton a really great question about how, when it comes down to Spags and the defense, do they practice their acting in a sense, right? Do they practice their simulating blitzes and stuff like that? And Nick Bolton was like, yeah, we do. You know what I'm saying? That's really big. And our defense Spags and our assistant coaches have harped about, you know what I'm saying, really selling the blitz, selling what you're about to do pre-snap, right? Confusing the defense and making confusing the offense and making the quarterback second guess every single decision. We've seen it before, right? We've seen Spags dial up so many exotic pressures when he has, like, the certain lines and how they're schemed up against how their gap control is and stuff like that. How he'll have, Chanel or Nick Bolton creeping. And of course, when the ball is high, they drop back in the cover, and you have someone like Justin Reed or Trent McDuffie coming down for cap blitzes from the safety spot or corner spot. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of great things that Spaz can dial up. And I think that's going to be vital for Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts to realize in this game, because Spaz is going to bring it. And we all know when it comes down to on 3rd and 10, 3rd and long, Spaz is going to put together his best pressure packages. So, Spags has to continue to be Spags, in my opinion, for the Chiefs to win this game. I think he definitely can do that. So, yeah, that's really all my keys for the Chiefs to win. Take care of the football, find Kelsey, don't stray away from the run, offensively and defensively, neutralize Barkley, make Hurts beat them from the pocket, and Spags must continue to be Spags. So, what does this game mean for the Eagles, right? I spoke about the Chiefs heavily, about what the game means for them and what their keys to victory. But before I get into my keys to victory for the Eagles, what does this game mean for them? I think it means a lot, of course, right? You capture your second Super Bowl championship in the last, 7 or 8 years. The last time they won it was 2017. And of course, that was a big game they had against the Patriots, and Nick Foles and the Philly special, so on and so forth, right? This is big for Philly. Philly fans are diehard fans. They deserve a lot of good things that come to them, even though they can be a bit annoying at times. But overall, though, that is a passionate fan base, right? And this is the most success they've seen in the last 10 years in a very long time, right? And of course, they're going up against their former head coach, Andy Reid. He got the best of them the last time, but I think they have a great shot at winning this game. So this means a lot, right? This means a lot for a lot of the players, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Everything that Howie Roseman has built up can finally be paid off, right? Saquon Barkley addition, the assistant coaches, the coordinators from Kellen Moore being hired, Vic Fangio winning he won the assistant coach of the year, which is huge, right? Bringing in a former head coach, a DC that kind of got ran out of town in Miami because the players didn't like his philosophies, but got to Philly, went back on to Pennsylvania, and really became phenomenal, right? And I think he has found a home there, and he may become another version of Spags, right? A guy that wasn't that good as a head coach, but is thriving as a DC, and he finally found his home when it comes down to his personnel to really thrive with. And this is big, right? Like I said, Howie Roseman has done a phenomenal job at building his roster up from the time he drafted Hurts to trading for AJ Brown, drafting Devontae Smith, retooling the offensive line, making it stronger. Defensively, trading in for Darius Slay. I think that was a trade or free agency acquisition, right? Bringing back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, drafting Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Zach Bond, the finding of Zach Bond, an amazing addition this offseason, right? A guy that was pretty much a journeyman or a backup linebacker to now arguably one of the best, not the best linebacker in all of football, alongside Fred Warner, Raquan Smith. So I'm quite sure I missed some more, but you get the gist of what I'm saying, right? The edge rushers they were able to accumulate over the years. We may even see someone like Bryce Huff potentially play this game, right, as a rotational piece. Brandon Graham, he's an Eagles legend. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get the jersey retired. May even be a Hall of Famer one of these days. I'm not sure, but we all know what he means to Philly. He is an Eagle through and through. He bleeds, you know, a green. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, you know, and even the rookies they acquired, right? Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, right? They have a really bright future with this Eagles team for many years to come. And of course, their biggest acquisition this offseason, probably the biggest acquisition so far during this championship window outside of trading for AJ Brown, was of course bringing in Saquon Barkley, right? And that, you know, shifts the focus to offensively. What are the keys to the victory? Because like I said, Howie Roseman has built up a elite roster. Has to pay off at some point. I think it will. But what are the keys to it paying it off this last game? I think most importantly, like I said about the Chiefs, they must take care of the football. But also, do not overthink this. Feed off Barkley. Lean on Saquon Barkley. And at points, you have to make the Chiefs say, okay, enough is enough. We're loading up the box. We're going to dare Hurts to beat us. We'll live with the results. If they can't pick up the run with their exotic blitzes and stuff like that, or if you're able to, you know, capitalize off their exotic pressures and you're able to, counter runs and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? When they're one side really heavy and they're weak on the other side, you're able to identify that and utilize Barkley in the running attack. You have to give him 25 plus carries in this game. You cannot shy away. I think the biggest reason why we've seen the Eagles, the Niners twice lose to the Chiefs in the championship game because they refused to run the ball when the game was on the line. Of course, they didn't make their throws either, but I felt as if they refused to run the ball when the game was on the line, and also they failed special teams. That's another thing I want to talk about with the Eagles, right? I think the special teams has been fine this year. They've also been making plays on special teams, right? Forcing fumbles, having big kickoff returns, right? You know, with the new kickoff rules, and also being solid in punt team, right? I think they have one of the best special teams in all of football. That must be emphasized this game, right? We saw what happened last time, Super Bowl 57. A huge reason on why the Chiefs won that game was one because they forced that key turnover against Hurts. And I want to say the second quarter when the Eagles were driving to go up in that game by 2 scores, they forced a fumble. And also, they were able to capitalize on special teams. Kadarius Toney, if I'm not mistaken, he not only had one but two big time plays on special teams. One that almost led to a touchdown, of course, which resulted in the touchdown a few plays later. And of course, you kept the Chiefs in positive field position. And they must be able to be vital and effective on special teams to neutralize anything the Chiefs have to offer. Now, I don't think the Chiefs have the best special teams returner right now. He's solid. I don't know his name. I've been seeing him play. They don't have Miko back there. They don't have Kadarius Toney. You know what I'm saying? They have someone that has more sure hands, I would say, but they don't really have that game changer. Could it be in Super Bowl 59? We'll see. You know what I'm saying? Stranger things have happened, but he had a big kickoff return right against the Texans a few weeks ago. But overall, though, I feel as if they can really neutralize the special teams and, and also, you know what I'm saying, like, of course, if it comes down to a field goal, whatever it comes to that, but you just can't get beat on special teams, especially when it comes down to, flipping field position. And also, they must strike with the iron is hot, in my opinion. I got that on my notes. I'm sorry if I'm looking down a lot, but they must strike when the iron is hot, right? If you have your foot on the Chiefs' neck, or you have a time to capitalize in this game and really take advantage of what's going on, like the Bills did last time we seen the Chiefs play on the field, right? The Bills were up 22-21 with ball control and gave it up. Not, turnover wise, but turnover on downs, right? And of course, it led to a Chiefs touchdown, and then they were never able to come back from that, right? If the Eagles are up at any point in this game, especially in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, by 3 points, 1 point, so on and so forth, they must continue to score points, rather if it's 3 points or 6 points or 7 points, with the extra point, at the touchdown. But they must continue to score field goals or touchdowns. They cannot sit on the ball and believe their defense can continue to build them out. And I feel as if at times, the same with the Chiefs' offense. Their offenses, both teams have been, and they get off to hot starts, but, when the middle of the games, when, the defense kind of has made adjustments, both their offenses get a big stagnant. So I do believe this game will overall be a low scoring matchup. And I'll get the score prediction, of course, afterwards. But we've seen times when this Eagles offense, they struggled against the Rams a few weeks back, right? They had a big performance against the Commanders, but against the Rams, it took a Jalen Carter, a big play sack to really, put that game away. Because if you guys remember, there was a route open underneath for, Matthew Stafford a hit for a potential touchdown that would have took the lead by a score. Now, of course, the Eagles would have enough time to go down the field and hit a potential game-winning field goal with Jake Elliott. But those are the things, right? And of course, you may not have Jalen Carter in this matchup. So, with all that being said, key thing is when you have the lead, when you're hot, you must continue to strike. You cannot sit on points and say we're going to trust things to work out in our favor. And we're going to play not to lose instead of playing to win. If you play not to lose against this Chiefs team, offensively or defensively, they will three-peat. You have to put this team away. When to beat the champs, you must beat the champs. You must take them down, and you can never underestimate the heart of a champion. So this Chiefs team is never going to be out of this game unless they just get bulldozed from the start. You know what I'm saying? Which I doubt that happens. You know what I'm saying? This Eagles team is very talented, but I think this Chiefs team really matches up really well. But they must be able to, take advantage of opportunities that may present themselves, and they must strike when it's hot. Defensively, create pressure on Mahomes. That's the biggest thing. I have that capitalized. Create pressure and get sacks on Mahomes. Last time these two teams matched up in the championship game, they had no sacks. And that offensive line was nowhere near the talent they have now. Right? They got no sacks against this Chiefs offensive line. And that defensive line for Philly had Javon Hargrave. They had Hassan Reddick. They had Josh Sweat. They had a healthy Brandon Graham, right? They had a really good front seven, right? You know what I'm saying? And they were unable to get into the pressure. They couldn't even get any anxiety, but to nothing, right? That Chiefs offensive line kept Mahomes up the entire game, and he was playing on a bum ankle. So they have to get after me. Even when they matched up in the regular season when they faced off against the Chiefs last year, and the Eagles won on the road in Chiefs Kingdom. But I looked at the little the team stats. I think they only had like 1 or 2 sacks. They can't for some reason. And then of course a different defensive coordinator, right? We're going to talk about the key factors going forward between Andy Reid and Vic Fangio. But the previous DCs did a really bad job of creating pressures on Mahomes, making him uncomfortable, and also forcing him to hold the ball and take a sack. Now, of course, Mahomes is hard to bring down, right? He's 6'2", probably like 235, 225, around that range. Really built, stocky when it comes down to his lower body. We've seen Patrick Mahomes refuse to go down, right? Making 30, 40-yard bombs while falling down to his knees down there, right? We've seen him be able to stand up in the pocket and have players draped all over his excuse my language, but his chest plates and stuff like that, his pads and on his lower leg levels and stuff like that, and still make touchdown throws, right? It's hard to bring this man down. But you have Nolan Smith, who's athletic as they come. You have Josh Sweat. You have Carter potentially. You have Milton Williams. You know what I'm saying? You have Zach Bond coming with his pressures. You have Cooper DeJean, right? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson coming down with his pressures as well. You have to get Mahomes on the ground. You cannot let him sit that back there and dot you up. And also, Jalen Carter, please be available. If you're an Eagles fan, I think that's definitely a huge key to them winning this game. Carter must be available defensively. He must be. If he's not, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough because I think Carter sets the tone for that entire front. They trust that Jalen Carter. I think even Jalen Carter is able to signal on plays. You know what I'm saying? What he wants to bring out when it comes down to like how they're going to how they slant, how they shift from left to right on their defensive line and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like what he does to free up other edge rushers when it comes down to it. So he's important. Just as important as any player on the defense, right? He's probably their most important defensive player outside of Zach Bond right now, in my opinion. So they definitely need him in this game. So hopefully he can play for the sake of the defense. Now, what are the X factors? So I've kind of highlighted, my X factors, but I'll go into depth about them for sure. I think the biggest one by far is Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio. Of course, Kellen Moore versus Spags, but I think I'm going to lean Spags overall in that adjustment period. But when it comes to the play callers, you know what I'm saying? Of course, Kellen Moore has more talent, more talent on offense than the Chiefs have on defense, but I still trust Spags to win that. If it comes down to trust Spags win that chess match. But the biggest one, in my opinion, and they face each other plenty of times, and I'm not sure if Vic Fangio has beaten Andy Reid in quite some time, because I know they didn't beat him when he was a head coach for the Chiefs, head coach for the Broncos. So I'm not sure the last time Vic Fangio beat Andy Reid, but it's going to be big. It's going to be big, man. This is the ultimate chess game. Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio, right? Vic has the personnel this time around, though. He has the weaponry. You know what I'm saying? He has some dogs that he can set up against with whatever Andy Reid comes together. Now, Andy Reid's been able to game plan for quite some time now, right? He's going to probably pull some play like he did against the Chiefs, like he did against the Eagles back in Super Bowl 57, where he got the little corn dog play from the Jaguars that year when they faced Philly in Philly, and they had that play to Jamal Agnew that Doug Peterson drew up, and of course he went back to his, former OC, his guy's quarterback's coach, his passing game coordinator, his former quarterback, and so on and so forth, and saw what he dialed up against the Eagles defense. Now, of course, Jonathan Gannon's defense was a bit different, but I'm pretty sure Andy's going to be digging. He's going to dig in the Commanders tape, right? He's going to dig in the Liam Cohen tape, because we all know Liam Cohen lit up the Vic Fangio Eagles defense earlier this season. Of course, they've gotten better since then for sure, but he's going to look at what Liam Cohen did for the Buccaneers, right? He's going to look at what, things that kind of got offset last year for Miami, what he struggled against down there with Vic Fangio's defense, right? He faced Vic Fangio's defense last year twice in the playoffs. Of course, I thought his defense did really good. Dolphins did, but they weren't enough offensively, and also in Germany. And I think Vic Fangio did a really good job in that game too. But the Chiefs, the Dolphins offense, didn't come together. So we'll see. Right, 2-week preparation. I like Vic Fangio to get the best of Andy Reid this time around because he has the personnel on all levels. Like I said, Jalen Carter playing is big. I think he will play. Hopefully he can. But having Jalen Carter in your front four, having Zach Bond to round out your front seven, having Quinyon Mitchell, lockdown corner, Darius Slay, lockdown corner, Cooper DeJean, lockdown nickel, Reed Blankenship, okay, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, right? You have the personnel to match up with everything the Chiefs offer, in my opinion, which moves on to my second key point. And I've already highlighted this when it comes down to the keep Chiefs victories, but I want to talk about it once again. Kelce versus the Eagles linebackers and safety / nickel play. It's going to be huge, right? You're going to see the matchup between Chauncey Gardner and Travis Kelce. You're going to see the matchup between Zach Bond and Travis Kelce at times. You're going to see Cooper DeJean on Travis Kelce, Reed Blankenship on Travis Kelce, right? How can Travis Kelce slice up this Eagles defense? I think he can. I think he will, all right? But Vic Fangio must be prepared for the freelance plays, right? And it's kind of hard to be prepared for those because it can just happen, right? You can have Travis Kelce run a 10-yard hitch. All of a sudden, Mahomes breaks contain, searching. And you see Travis Kelce just run the routes that are just run the corresponding, chemistry they have that results to a 30-yard play. Then you have 20 yards of yak, a 50-yard play in total. You know what I'm saying? 30-yard throw with the 20-yard yak. You know what I'm saying? So you get what I'm trying to hit here. And we also saw Travis Kelce really, dice up the Eagles last time they faced. You know what I'm saying? And some of these guys are familiar from that secondary, right? So we'll see. I do believe this Eagles defense is a bit younger and faster and more athletic since then, but it's going to be big. We're going to see what old man Kelce can put up against this Eagles linebackers, nickels, and safety play. And lastly, Saquon Barkley versus the Chiefs front seven. That's going to be vital. Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Derek Nottie, I think he's still around there if I'm not mistaken, Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, right? Front seven work. Those guys must be prepared to tackle and be ready to play that running attack all 4 quarters. Because if I'm Kellen Moore, I am not swaying away from what got me here. I'm not going off. I'm not moving on. I'm not trying to avoid giving the ball to the offensive player of the year. Congratulations to Saquon Barkley on that accomplishment, by the way. But a guy that went for over 2,000 rushing yards, a few yards short of beating Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record that was set during the late 80s, early 90s. You can't avoid that. And the Chiefs understand that. So the front seven must be ready. Will they? We'll see. I felt as if they haven't done a good job against the running attack these last few weeks, but also I will say they face quarterbacks, in my opinion, that arguably, especially Josh Allen, are better passers than a Jalen Hurts. So we'll see how effective it can be. Also, Hurts, I don't have it in my key notes, my X factors, but I do believe Hurts has to be able to make big time throws. I know Patrick Mahomes will do it. I'm not worried about him. I'm not even having listed down on what to X factor wise because I know he's going to come to play. This is his realm. This is his realm. He's Tom Brady in this situation, man. He's going to come to play. He will show up. He'll take care of the football. In my opinion, he won't have a blunder. Hurts though. You must make big time plays and take care of the football. So we'll see. Overall, though, my final prediction for Super Bowl 59: who will win? What will the final score be? I know it is against the grain to bet against the Super Bowl champions. Of course, this is what we've seen before in the Patriots and the NFL. We've seen this before with the Warriors in the NBA, the Miami Heat with LeBron James, the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James, Kobe, Shaq, and the Lakers, Mike and the Chicago Bulls with Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, so on and so forth, right? College football at Alabama, recently with Georgia, the MLB with the Yankees of the old days, the Astros of recent, the Dodgers of recent, I'm saying NHL. I'm not sure what goes on over there, but we all know the consistent teams. You shouldn't go against the grain, right? When the champion gets to the highest stake, when it gets to the final dance, you gotta ride with them. History says ride with them, but history also says a 3P has never happened. And I'm gonna lean more towards that because it is hard, man. It is hard, and I'm really surprised they even got here. I shouldn't be surprised because it's the arguably the greatest dynasty of football we've seen. But it's hard to complete it. It's hard. It is very hard, man. And I think the Eagles are the more talented team. I think they have the personnel to match up with everything the Chiefs have to offer. I know they're a bit banged up right now. They're not the healthiest. I need the teams the healthiest. Both teams are banged up, right? We don't know who's going to be ready to go from a full snap count when it comes to the Eagles offensive line. We don't know what snap counts will look like for Jalen Carter. But my gut is telling me that the Eagles get the revenge because I'm looking at the last two matchups. Yes, these two teams are different from when they last faced each other the last two times, but excuse me, I thought in the championship game back in Super Bowl 57, the Eagles had that game to win. And they let one play come back to haunt them. Of 3 plays. The fumble by Jalen Hurts and the 2 big returns by Kadarius Toney. I'm still having a brain fart if he had 2 or 1, but regardless though, they were monumental, right? And they only lost that game by 3. Last year in Chiefs Kingdom, of course, no AJ Brown, right? No Saquon Barkley for sure. No Saquon Barkley in neither matchup, right? And of course, this Chiefs defense had a Jerry Sneed and so forth. And what I'm saying, it was different. Jalen Carter wasn't what he is now, but we still saw a close matchup. But we saw the turnover differentiation. I think it was both the same on both. I think both quarterbacks do 1 pick, 1 fumble, something like that nature. But the turnovers were even, right? When it came down to it, the more talented team won that game by margin, no, but they still won. And of course, that was the Eagles. So I'm riding with the more talented team winning and taking slightly bit more care of the football because throughout this entire playoffs and really throughout the entire season, Hurts has done a phenomenal job taking care of the football. And I think when it comes down to it, even if Hurts can't pass for 200 yards, I think you need at least 180. You need 200 to beat this Chiefs, in my opinion, right? But we've seen them throw for 114 and Barkley go for 185. I think that won't happen this game, in my opinion. But they have to have a respectable Hurts, a turnover-free Hurts, and of course a Saquon Barkley to be active in this game, and the defense to make stops in key moments. And it may come down to a reverse, a Jake Elliott walk-off field goal. So I got the Eagles win this game to start the 3-peat for the Eagles to capture the second championship in the last 8 years. Jalen Hurts, first time Super Bowl winner, and Saquon Barkley, Super Bowl MVP. And I have the Eagles winning 24-21. Walk-off field goal, Jake Elliott with barely any time on the clock. So that is it. That is my Super Bowl prediction. I have the Eagles by 3. I said a lot to just say that. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes. I'm definitely gonna be here for a recap. I'm excited to see how this game just plays out, man. I really want to see how these two juggernaut of teams that totaled out 17 wins this year, including the playoffs, right? They're 17. The Chiefs are 17-2, and the Eagles are 17-3. So something around that nature. But I'm really interested to see how these teams. No, I'm sorry, they're both 17-3 if I'm not mistaken. So I'm really interested to see how these teams really shake out this year, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see this game. But anyways, before I end this podcast, I want to get into the last segment. The NFL MVP award winner in Josh Allen. Excuse me, I needed some water. Man, I've been talking a lot. And by the way, thank y'all for tapping into this podcast, man. If you're not been already, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment down below your thoughts about this game and also the MVP reaction, other NFL award reactions and stuff like that, and what you want me to talk about going forward in the offseason. If you're listening to it on Spotify, thank you for tapping in. Make sure you follow the show. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you rate the show 5 stars and leave a great comment as well. Anyways, my final segment, the NFL MVP and what it means going forward, right? Now, I wasn't able to give my award predictions on a podcast platform, but I definitely gave my award predictions on my channels on Instagram and TikTok, right? I had my MVP as Lamar Jackson. I thought he was the best quarterback this year. I thought he was the best player. And I thought overall, when it comes down to what the MVP has shown us in years past, he was the most valuable amongst all players in the league because he was the best. He was the best. But this year, the criteria, the meaning behind value changed. You have a lot of voters that have publicly come out and admitted that, yeah, they went Lamar Jackson first team All Pro because he was the best player in all of football and the best quarterback of all football. And they gave Josh Allen second team All Pro because he wasn't the best quarterback this year, but he was really damn good. But they gave Josh Allen the MVP because he was the most valuable player. And Lamar wasn't. We even seen Lamar Jackson get 1 4th place vote. Disgusting. This award means nothing anymore, in my opinion, if we're going off based off that criteria. If that is how the lay of the land is. If you want to go first team All Pros, go to the best quarterback, the best player in all of football, whatever, then it sounds like All Pro teams matter more than MVPs. A lot of people are saying that, last year Dak Prescott should have won MVP. No, he shouldn't have. I don't know why the revisionist history has become such a thing, right? If we remember what happened last year with Dak Prescott, he played amazing during the month of November. It was his award to lose. But what happened in December? His numbers took a slight dip. He showed inconsistent quarterback play. He went 3-2 to close out the season, winning record still, right? But he didn't win a single game that end of the year to a playoff team. He had 2 big playoff potential games on the road. He also lost the 1 seed, by the way. The Cowboys were the 1 seed. They lost to the Niners. He had the chance to go on the road in Buffalo. Got dog walked in Buffalo, by the way. They got destroyed. They couldn't do nothing offensively at all. And also, he was unable to perform enough in the Dolphins game on the road as well. That is why he didn't win. When it came down to last year's performances, Lamar Jackson didn't have the immaculate stats, of course. He played really well. I think he played really great. Elite, in my opinion, as well, because he was the most consistent quarterback throughout the entire 2023 season. That is exactly why he got the award. And everyone said, Josh Allen's stats are better. Josh Allen had 20 turnovers total last year, 18 interceptions. I think he might have been 22 total turnovers. 22 total turnovers, 18 interceptions. He had 20 more touchdowns. Of course he did have 20 more total touchdowns, whatever it was. He turned the ball over 20 more times, damn near. That is why Josh Allen didn't get the award last year. That's why he finished 5th place. He had no shot at winning last year. I can understand the Dak debate, but Dak wasn't consistent in the heat of battle when it came down to it. Lamar was. This year, without question, in my opinion, Lamar Jackson was the best player in all of football this season. Do I believe he's the best player in all of football in general? No, I think Patrick Mahomes is, without speaking biasly, right? But the best player in football this season was Lamar Jackson. And that is what the MVP should go to, in my opinion. It goes to the best player in all of football for that said season. Josh Allen was not. He had an MVP caliber year, but if we're going based off value, well, Jaden Daniels should have won. Jaden Daniels inherited a team that picked second in the NFL draft last year, finished 12-5. He anchored that team. He was the reason why that Commanders team got to the postseason. I'm not going on postseason success. I'm going off how the team was in the regular season. He was throwing the ball to, of course, Terry McLaurin, but he had no running attack, essentially, right? Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, come on, bro. His second receiver outside of Terry McLaurin. Granted, he was a second-team All-Pro, Pro Bowl receiver, but he had barely 1,000 yards receiving, right? I think he had 13 total touchdowns receiving, whatever. Cool. But he barely had 1,000 yards receiving. That pretty much cancels out with James Cook. You know what I'm saying? James Cook barely went for over 1,000 yards rushing, but he had like 16 total rushing touchdowns. Crazy. Led the NFL, our co-leader in touchdowns this year. But regardless, though, his second leading receiver was Zach Ertz or Dimey Brown. Zacchaeus, Noah Brown. Like, what are we doing here, bro? That he was more valuable to his team, in my opinion, than Josh Allen was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He was. Jared Goff was more valuable to that Lions team, in my opinion. If Jared Goff was not on that Lions team this year with all the injuries they had, they were not making the playoffs. They were not capturing the 1 seed and not finishing with a 15-2 record. You could argue that Sam Darnold may have been just as valuable to this team than Josh Allen. Granted, he has a better support system. I get all that, but he played dominant football. 14-3 record. So they don't want to bring up bot scores, overall stats, because, Lamar didn't win the stat department last year, but they refused to revisit consistency. You can argue that Saquon Barkley was more valuable to the Eagles than what Josh Allen was to the Bills. You wouldn't win the argument, but you can make an argument. You know what I'm saying? Josh Allen played great this year. He did his job. He hooped, but he also went against one of the easiest schedules in football this year and also one of the worst divisions in football next to the AFC South. The AFC East was terrible this year. No team made it to the postseason. One team had an above 500 record, I think. I don't have the Dolphins record pulled up right now, but the Dolphins were bad, the Jets were terrible, and the Patriots were atrocious. Lamar had a tougher schedule, tougher into the season. And he also won the head-to-head versus Josh Allen, the Bills this year, and he outperformed him. The two defenses that Josh Allen went against this year that were playoff caliber, that were also, I'm sorry, not playoff caliber, I wouldn't say that. That they were of playoff caliber and also top 5 in defense. He played some of his worst football to date. Lamar Jackson hooped every single week. Watch the games. He played out of his mind damn near every single week. Josh Allen has some misses this year. We forget about the Colts game, right? And I don't think he registered a touchdown. I think he threw like 2-3 interceptions. Granted, he hooped against the Rams, played magnificent against the Lions. I think that Lions and Rams game may have won him the MVP. If it wasn't for the performances, he wouldn't have won. But Lamar had a tougher end to the schedule. Beat Houston in Houston. Beat the Steelers twice. Beat the Bengals twice. Now, of course, they may hold that Eagles game against him, but I thought he still played good enough to win. Kind of like, I wouldn't say that because Josh Allen played out of his mind against the Rams. I do remember that game. He played really good. Comeback effort, though, but he played good. You know what I'm saying? But we also seen Josh Allen beat up on the Patriots. Had a great game. You know what I'm saying? So, and granted, Lamar beat up on the Browns, and you know what I'm saying, like, but Lamar also played against the Broncos defense and had one of his better games. When the Broncos won the best defense in all of football. I don't know the criteria anymore, man. Overall, man, this award took a stain in my opinion, bro. It took a stain, and I may be on a complaining soapbox right now, and I'm about to end this, but. And I'm not trying to discredit Josh Allen that's not my goal here. I'm just saying, like, the criteria, it was a pity award. I hate to say it, man. It was a here, damn, we're going to give it to you because we felt like he should have won it in years past. But that's not how the award should be viewed. This isn't Joel Embiid in the NBA with Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, bro. The NFL has to hold themselves to a higher standard. I don't think Josh Allen was the MVP. It was Lamar Jackson, clear cut, man. And honestly, I don't know how you have such a season like this and not get the award. If the roles and teams were switched, if Josh Allen was on the Bills and he put up this, I'm sorry, if Josh Allen was on the Ravens and he put up the same exact stats with the same exact team, and Lamar Jackson was with the Bills and he put up the same exact stats with the same exact team, I'm telling you right now, if Josh Allen would have lost that award with the same exact stats on the same exact team as Lamar Jackson, the NFL community would have been in shambles because they would have said he got robbed. And I would have agreed because he played out of his damn mind. I don't care if he is hitting the ball for Derrick Henry. He still played out of his mind. We're not going to sit up here and say that James Cook did not equate for 16 touchdowns this year. But I guess the receiving cores are the reason why a lot of team or people are saying that Josh Allen, you know what I'm saying, was the MVP and what this team would have been without Josh Allen. I get all that, man. But it sounds as if he was the most valuable player for the Bills, not the league. Because if we want to be honest, if we're going most valuable player in all of the NFL, it's Patrick Mahomes. If we're going by term, it is Patrick Mahomes. And he should have been in the finalists as well, but he had a very slow start to the season, had a great finish. But what are the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes? Exactly. So, anyways, we'll see what happens this offseason, man, when it comes to this war. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of debates about it. I just don't like how the criteria changed this year. And it seems as if all pros matter more. And I can't believe I heard Emmanuel Acho and Dan Orlovsky say, yeah, Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback this year and the best player, and that's what we went with him with first team All Pro. We acknowledged that, and that's what we gave second team All Pro to Josh. But Josh was the MVP, most valuable. That doesn't make any sense, bro. That doesn't make. I don't even think Josh Allen even received a single Offensive Player of the Year vote. Why wasn't Lamar Jackson the Offensive Player of the Year if that was how the criteria went? If he was the best offensive player of the season, if he was the best player of the season, best quarterback, that means he was the best offensive player, right? Why didn't he win offensive player of the year? Why didn't Josh get an offensive player of the year vote? Why did Lamar Jackson get a fourth place MVP vote? Congratulations, Josh Allen. You got your award. Hopefully we can just stop the babying, man. And granted, he'll have a great shot to go back to back next year because the pressure will be off and he can put together another big time season. And then they'll say, oh, well, we got to give it to Josh Allen again because, he didn't do anything to lose the award, which I don't think. Oh my God, that's another thing too, bro. It's another thing they did off the MVP, which is why Aaron Rodgers won the award in back to back years. I know I'm going on a rant right now. I'm about to end the podcast, but that's the reason why Aaron Rodgers went back to back the year before Lamar Jackson won it. I'm sorry, the year after Patrick Mahomes won it. They said Aaron Rodgers was too damn good. He did nothing to lose the award, which is why they gave it to him. I think that was why the reason why they gave it to him. And granted, he played phenomenal football, but wasn't Lamar Jackson too damn good to lose the award this year? Am I tripping? Did he do anything, in my opinion, till it's like I thought that was a criteria as well. Like sometimes, like you look at the MVP. Well, damn, did the last year's MVP do anything to lose the award this year? No, he didn't. He got better. He got better. He had the best quarterback season, the best passing season. I'm sorry, I guess the quarterback season will be subjective, but he had the best passing season, the best dual threat season of all time. Arguably, whatever. Josh didn't have. Anyways, congratulations, Josh Allen. You got your MVP. I guess you can say about damn time, but I don't know, man. This is nasty work the NFL just did, and I know they're going to talk about this for many years to come, leading up to next year's MVP and so on and so forth. It's going to be the topic of conversation the entire offseason. But, anyways, we gotta take away some people's votes and really buckle down to what this award means because it lost some value in my opinion. It really lost a lot of value. But thank y'all for tapping in, man. I know this may have been a long-winded last segment. I had to voice my expressions about that and voice my concerns and it really vent because it was really mind-boggling what I've seen from other creators and other media outlets expressing why it was the right choice and the reasoning behind it was just so mind-boggling. But anyways, thank you for tapping in. This was a great show. I want to say, I'm looking forward to the offseason content. We're going to start doing some offseason outlooks and kind of like season reviews on a lot of the bad teams going to the best and from this year's draft order. So I'll start that after the Super Bowl recap. And yeah, man, thank you for tapping in. Like, sub, and follow the show on all major platforms: YouTube, Spotify, and of course on Apple Podcasts. But until next time, man, thank you for tapping in. And I'll be back after the Super Bowl game to recap and definitely comment on what went down. So thank you all so much for watching and listening. Until next time, that is a wrap.